Greetings. So last week, a company called FTX, which was one of those Bitcoin companies, basically went from, well, being worth something like $35 billion to zero in less than a week. I don't know if anyone actually saw this coming. It seemed like the owner of the company didn't see it coming. I don't know if any of the employees saw it coming, but it happened. And a lot of people who had invested in it lost a whole bunch of money. So two things have happened since then. One, there's a major suit against FTX for not taking care of everything, for not following through with all the regulations and all the worries, you know, the way that banks have to do, where they're supposed to protect to make sure that all the money's not lost. But people have also decided they're going to sue the people who sponsored it. So they're going after Tom Brady and Giselle. They're going after, let's see, Larry David. I think that's his name. I never remember this guy's name. And online, they're going after Graham Stephan. Now, I kind of like Graham Stephan. I watched some of his videos, but they have been hitting him hard because FTX was a sponsor. So, you know, I think that there are times where people are just so angry, they want to go after everybody who's associated with one particular thing, and it's a little weird to do that. It doesn't make any sense. For instance, Graham Stephan, he has a whole lot of sponsors. If you go to any of his channels, you'll see they pop up every once in a while. He has his own product that he sells. And to blame him because he allowed someone else to pay him money to sponsor something makes no sense. Now, here's the thing. When he was first taking it on, FTX was blowing up. FTX had basically got their name on one of the football stadiums, which I thought was one of the worst things in the world. I didn't even know who FTX was at the time, but it just seemed like something's not going to end up right with this. And I was correct on that, but like I said, I didn't know who they were. But people have been going off on him, and on his latest videos, they just keep bringing it up over and over, and they want to blame him for all the money. But he has offered other things on his channel where people have been making some kind of money. He usually always suggests, because he's an investor, that you check things out and you verify, and he does that with the companies that he also sponsors. So I think that's a little bit unfair. I think it's unfair to basically try to sue anybody just because they sponsored something. I'm sure that all these people and all their representatives looked into everything. And like I said, the company was doing well for, what, about 2 years? So, you know, you can't always see when something like that is failing. Now, what would happen if someone decided to sue Subway because of hiring Jared Fogle? Remember him? Everyone knew Jared. This is the guy who lost a whole bunch of weight eating vegetable subs, which really sounds really nasty to me, but he lost a lot of weight. He became their spokesman. He was traveling all over the country, and then you found out that he was related to child porn. I don't know if he did any other stuff, but he's in jail, and he's been doing, you know, he's been in jail for a while. He's still got a while to go. But what if someone said, wait, you sent this guy to talk to places where we had kids around him, and that was really dangerous, and we should sue you because you hired him. You can't go suing every company just because they hired someone unless they knew up front what that person was and they hired him. That's a different story. But no one saw that coming. I don't even know how the FBI figured it out, but they did, and there you go. So sometimes you can't do it like that. I think that's unfair. It doesn't make any sense to do something like that. If you found out, okay, here's one. So we found out that, was it Wells Fargo, I think, were basically creating new accounts for people who didn't exist because the company had a certain standard saying that we have to have so many new accounts every single month. So what they were doing is they were creating fake accounts, but they were taking the money from other people electronically. So no one actually lost any money out of their accounts, but they just used those accounts. They changed numbers. And in that particular instance, the company didn't know it was going on, the overall company. The department that ran those people knew exactly what was going on. So if you blame that department, that's fine. If you blame the entire bank, you're in kind of a murky situation because the bank set up a standard that was ridiculous. That's like basically saying we need to have 10,000 mortgages every month in Kansas City, but there aren't that many properties. So you can't solve something like that. You just can't do that. So people make up things because they're worried about losing their jobs. Those people should be fired. Those people should be fined somehow because they broke the law. But can you put it all on the entire bank? I don't think so. I don't think you can put it on a CEO. I think that, yes, you're overseeing everything and you're asking all the questions, but you're not, digging deep. When you're in a position of leadership, you don't actually dig deep all the time. I know this because I've been in a position of leadership. Of course, I dug deep, but I didn't have this massive department. I didn't have all these massive things I had to check over. Every time, if we had a problem going on, I knew what the problem was, but that's because I could focus on it. So that's one of those kind of things. Now, let's talk about fast food, because I will tell you the truth, over the years, I have become disenchanted with a lot of fast food. But who do I blame? Let's start with Dunkin' Donuts. Most of them don't even call themselves that anymore. And you know why? Because they're not concentrating on donuts. They concentrate on coffee. When's the last time you actually saw a commercial, and I'll say on TV because I don't watch TV, but when's the last time you actually saw a commercial talking about their donuts? I don't know. You call it Dunkin'. You don't even put, donuts on any of the news stores anymore. So if you go into a Dunkin' Donuts and you get a bad donut, who are you going to blame? Back in the day, Dunkin' Donuts were wonderful, but they were also, each person who owned their stores, they got to make their donuts in their own way. And a lot of times they were way superior to what happened later on. Then Dunkin' Donuts, the corporation, decided, okay, we're going to make everybody use the exact same thing. This happened here locally where I live, where this guy owned 7 Dunkin' Donuts. They were wonderful donuts. They came in, they changed the formula. He tried it out. He hated the way it tasted. He knew it was going to go downhill, and he sold them all because that's just how it is. And by the way, I met him, so I know this story. So if you go anywhere in the country and you get a Dunkin' Donuts and it always tastes bad, or maybe you're used to it if you're younger, but if it always tastes the same everywhere you go, you don't like it, that's a full corporation. However, let's look at McDonald's. I have always loved McDonald's fish sandwich and fries. Don't judge me. I've always loved them. But over the last 4 months, I'm not totally loving them. I live a minute and a half away from the McDonald's, and so it's easy for me to just go over there and get a fish sandwich and fries. Well, that particular outlet right there, the buns have been stale over the last 3 months, and the fries don't taste right either. The breakfast, those hash browns are still wonderful. The McMuffins, they're wonderful, but they've messed with lunch. It's terrible. Even the McNuggets, which used to be pretty passable, I actually enjoyed them, they've gotten a little stale now. So I don't really like it. However, there's another McDonald's about 5 minutes away, and I was up there the other day because I had to go buy some prescriptions because, you get older, you end up on certain types of pills. And I stopped there and I got a fish sandwich and the small fries. The fries still tasted horrible. So maybe that's a national thing that they've made a change. But the fish sandwich, the bread was nice and soft. The fish tasted just like it was supposed to. And I said, well, one is now on the franchise owner down here, but on the other one, they got the fish absolutely right. The fries, if you go to a whole bunch of different McDonald's and the fries don't taste good anymore, then that's something you can blame on the corporation. KFC. KFC used to be wonderful. I remember years ago when I was working at a hospital that was about 45 minutes away from home on a Friday. I would do this on Fridays. I would go to the local Burger King. I would buy the 9-piece because I was a moron. And I would drive home eating these, and they were just absolutely wonderful. I would only do that once every 4 to 6 weeks because as many as I could eat in the car going home, I always got sick. And then it took me a couple of days before I would eat the rest that I hadn't even touched. So I had to learn from that mistake. But still, now I have a Burger King that's a minute and a half away. Not a Burger King. We'll come back to Burger King. I have a KFC that's a minute and a half away. It just opened 2 or 3 months ago. and I don't know what they've done to the chicken, but it doesn't taste right. The one that's 5 minutes away, it doesn't taste right. And the chicken pot pies, which used to be wonderful, it's almost like they don't put any chicken in it anymore. So that doesn't taste right. The coleslaw doesn't taste right. You can blame that on everybody, but the corporate, because it just tastes bad. I don't know if the same person owns all of the KFCs. I do know that the same person doesn't own the McDonald's that's a minute and a half away from me and the one that's 5 minutes away. Why? Because I ask questions. Then let's talk about Burger King. Back in 1979, when I was coming home for Thanksgiving, the only thing I could think of was a flame broiled Whopper the day before Thanksgiving, because I loved their flame broiled, Whoppers. And they came off the thing and you could see the smoke coming from outside, and it had this wonderful smell, and it just tasted great. Y'all know what it's like getting a hamburger that's come right off the grill. Then they changed that up. Maybe they cooked them early and then they wrapped them all up, because sometimes if you go in there, the reason you can get it so fast is because they've wrapped a whole bunch up. They've got it under that heat lamp, and then you get it and it just doesn't taste the same. What you can do is you can ask them if you can have one right off the broiler. I do that most of the time, but you know what? It doesn't taste like it used to. So I don't know if they're still flame broiling it. I don't know if they've changed how they cook it. It tastes better than the one that you get if you don't ask for it. But in general, it just doesn't taste the same. So who do you fire now, or who do you decide to blame? Who are you going to sue? Do I sue each individual? Do I sue the corporation without knowing if they know things have changed? I don't know how to answer that question. I don't know if anyone else knows how to answer that question. I think that there are times where you have to be the one who makes a decision on something, and then you need to stick with that decision, review things often, check it out, see what's going on. It was kind of like the thing with GameStop. I think that was 2 years ago, where all of a sudden all these big time investors all invested on GameStop, and the rate went up high, and a lot of people jumped in on it. And then when it got to a certain level, almost all of them sold their stocks. And a lot of other people who had jumped in on the bandwagon didn't sell soon enough, and a lot of them lost a lot of money because they didn't get in soon enough. So who are they going to sue? You can't sue the stock market. You can't sue GameStop. You can try to sue the guys who actually, took advantage and got this stock really high. But what are you going to sue them for? There's no legal thing you can do about it. I think there should be, but there's nothing legal about it. So this is just, my general thought. I don't trust Bitcoin. I don't really know a lot about it, so I'm not investing anything there. I had stuff in the regular stock market, but, it went up a little bit. It was slow. Now, if you do the mixed stocks where, you have a little bit here and there and you have someone who's actually watching it, they're at least going to make sure you're taken care of. You might still lose some money, but you're not going to lose it all. And otherwise, I just think that sometimes you need to take your own bit of responsibility. If you weren't paying attention to FTX, because it had, from what I read, it had actually been losing some value here and there. And maybe, that was the time to say, okay, it's time to get out of this. Because even though FTX failed drastically, it turns out there's a few other Bitcoin things that have failed and gone bankrupt that people weren't paying attention to. There was this guy that Graham Stephan actually interviewed a year and a half ago, where he went from basically having $100,000 up to over 5 million. And Graham said, are you going to take some of that? I said, no, I'm going to let it ride. And then a year and a half later, gone. No one to blame but yourself on that one. Me personally, I would have taken the money, but I'm like that. Anyhow, let me know your thoughts. My name is Mitch Mitchell. Trying to be the voice of reason, but I don't know if I'm being reasonable or not. Y'all take care.